on June 13th in the live-action How to Train Your Dragon film. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. First with a little opening question. So the Cornetto trilogy is awesome, but if you could have a Cornetto ice cream right now, which flavor would you choose?
After three? 1, 2, 3. Pepto Bismol.
That was what I was saying.
I've got an upset stomach, so I'd go a Pepto. I don't think that's available.
Special flavor, Pepto Bismol. I want to kick this off talking about Shaun and Pegg because it is a classic, absolute classic. Last year we celebrated its 20th anniversary, and I can't believe so much time has flown. You guys look exactly the same, amazing. Now this was our first Zom rom-com, one of our first Zom rom-coms in existence. Did you guys think it would have the cultural impact that it did when it came out?
No, we didn't. No, we just sort of were making a little film in the UK. We didn't know where it would go or if anyone would see it other than our mothers. And at that point, that was good enough. You know, it was just something that we were very dedicated to creating. And you know, it's wonderful that here we are on the way here. We saw a Shaun out the window, didn't we? We saw a Shaunetta.
Didn't Shaun win the competition earlier? I think
yeah, he did. Well done, that guy.
One of the most iconic shots in the film is throwing the record to find the perfect record. How many takes did that take in order to get the perfect record correct?
Quite a lot, I think. And Edgar's a fan of, he likes to see people physically get injured. So a lot of the time Edgar's direction is he'd get his little claws on you and he'd pull you in and he'd say, really go for it. And yeah, he wanted to see impact and stuff. So, I mean, I think we're similar in terms of being hurt by it. But emotionally hurt by it. Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's not in our nature to want to hurt people. We don't want to hurt people, not physically. So it's really it's difficult when it's like, really throw it in their faces.
And it was Nicola and Mark who played Mary and the Hulk, which are the two zombies there. And they're the sweetest people. And we didn't want to throw shit at them, did we? But it took a long time to shoot because we were shooting in May in the UK. And that really is the most varied weather you can get. It's sunny one second, raining the next. And we had to choose which lighting we were going to have for the scenes. The sun came out. It looked like it was going to stay sunny. We said, okay, let's shoot this in the sun. And then we had to come back like 4 times over 3 months to do it in the sun. So it was actually...
During that scene, though, Simon and I had the idea for Paul.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. It was raining a lot. We were stood under like a little tent and like, we were just like, wouldn't it be great if we shot a film where it didn't rain? And that became the desert, and that became Area 51, and then Paul brought out that.
I did a poster for Naira, our producer, and I said, one day we'll make this, and it'll be easy because the weather will be nice. And we made it in New Mexico where it fucking thunders all the time.
With this, I'm a big fan of any kind of weather. And like our first day, he had to have a tornado or a lightning meter. And whenever it bipped, we just had to stop filming, which was all the time. It was very exciting.
As the producer, like, we gotta get the shot,
Yeah.
What would Shaun and Ed be doing in a post-apocalyptic zombie world now?
Pretty much the same shit. I mean, you'd be dead because you no spoiler alert, obviously, Ed was a zombie.
I'd still be dead.
Yeah, you'd still be dead.
But you'd still feed me, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'd probably walk around with you on a chain, like take you for walks, take you out, find some unsuspecting human.
That's what we did last night in the hotel. We were walking around on a big chain like a bomb field. We were being those.
There's a lot of emotion behind the gore and blackness in this film. Did you guys think the ending would hit as hard as it did?
Well, we always wanted to, you know, when Edgar and I write a film, we always want the comedy to be funny and the drama to be dramatic. And I think, you know, comedy is a sort of in direct opposition to drama. So it's good to have real drama, real stakes, because it you know, it magnifies the comedy. So when we were killing my mother, that had to hit different, you know, we had to make that difficult so that it felt. I mean, there's still little jokes in there, like when Liz says don't exacerbate things, and Ed says, what does that mean? Which is a callback to an earlier joke, you know. But mostly it was very, we cried a lot that day, didn't we?
We did cry, yeah.
Because we had to kill Shoot and other people.
Yeah, I think that was the first time, because I never really wanted to be an actor. I never, still don't really, that's not really. I never learned to be an actor, I just kind of pretended I was an actor, but that was the first day that I felt like acting got me in a way, you know, because I suddenly was the emotion I was feeling, and I'd never really felt that before. Let's have a look at it.
Let's talk about Hot Fuzz for a second, because somehow you made small town policing epic. What inspired you to a full-action blockbuster in the English countryside?
Well, that's what we know, you know. I mean, me and Edgar were huge fans of you know, American action cinema, and we thought, wouldn't it be funny if we transplanted that to there, where we both grew up. Edgar, we shot in Wales, the town where Edgar grew up, and I grew up in Gloucestershire, which was close by. So we set Sanford in Gloucestershire and shot in Edgar's hometown. And we just thought it would be really funny to see those kind of fireworks in a village.
That's a lot. Do you guys have a favorite action moment that stands out from shooting?
I did. We did a thing where everyone knows that we don't have any kind of firearm in the UK. So when we got to use the guns and stuff, that was fun. That was kind of exciting. But there was a scene where we were in the pub and we were shooting at the others, and my gun jammed. And what I did during the take was I simply unjammed it and then carried on. And just off camera, I could see the arms guys, and they looked to be furiously joking. Maybe not. But yeah, I felt that was like really cool that I knew what to do.
What was really funny about that scene was that we had to jump through the air firing two guns at once. And it looked so cool, but out of shot, we'd hit the crash mat, and all the spent shells that would come out would be ejected from the gun were boiling hot, and they rolled down onto us in the crash mat. And so underneath that shot, Nick and I go,
they would stick to us, and you'd have to push them off quick.
Yeah. Now, if Nicholas Angel and Daniel Butterman were in a modern crime show like True Detective, how do you think they would handle it?
that's a great idea for a movie. We could do like a series of challenges. Yeah. I think they'd be excellent. It would be very funny, but they'd get the job done.
No one would understand them. It would be great.
Would the crime get solved?
Absolutely. Eventually.
Yeah. We've got 3 seasons to tell that story.
Yeah.
Let's talk about The World's End. Simon, with The World's End, it was a little darker, exploring addiction, nostalgia, and regret. What kind of came about with, did that concept come with maturity, age, and being wiser?
Absolutely. Edgar and I never really want to do the same thing twice. We always want to, you know, risk disappointing people really in a way, just because rather than just do the same thing over and over again, which is why we never made sequels to each film. We wanted to do something different, and you know, we'd all passed 40, and I was in recovery, and it felt like a story I wanted to tell about, you know, just how driven addicts are, you know, just how they will sacrifice everything to achieve what they want. And we'd also, in going back to Wales, I think, when we did Hot Fuzz, for Edgar, going back to his hometown and the feeling that everything was the same but different. And we just thought, push that to the logical kind of conclusion of it's different because everyone's an alien, you know. And so yeah, and also we didn't want to do like a straight genre take like we did with Shaun, which was a zombie film. Hot Fuzz, that was an action film. This was kind of more like a sort of John Wyndham novel, or you know, something that wasn't quite as so cinematically referential. And we made the film we wanted to make, you know, and I love that movie and I love that character.
You know, something that often goes overlooked with that film specifically is it has one of the best action scenes and film in that. And if I read correctly, it was Jackie Chan's action team that kind of helped put that scene together. Is that right?
The great Brad Allen, R.I.P., who was one of Jackie's sort of guys. He's in a lot of Jackie's movies. And Brad choreographed those scenes with the great guy, Damien Walters. And for me, the beehive fight, when Nick's got the stools in his hands, is my favourite.
Yes, but again, that was a scene where, after the first couple of takes, Edgar came and put his little claws on you and went, hey, you really got to go for it. He did, which resulted in like the brain death of 3 Polish stuntmen.
I love that. Now, Simon, if Gary King was heading to a pub crawl today, what would there be? Craft beer, cold brew, or kombucha?
I don't think Gary cares. I think as long as it gets him where he needs to go. I mean, Gary was a kind of a lager man, I think, so it would have been like, you know, Stella Artois, probably. Something with a high volume. Yeah.
Now, like, fans want a 4th Cornetto film. And Nick, I think you said that you'd like to see it happen, even if it's in their 60s.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the good thing about us being friends and making films together is it doesn't matter when we make that film, right? Also, I think it's quite unique to get to see an ensemble of actors and directors and filmmakers get old together. I haven't seen that very often. And I think what has happened to us, which is really pretty cool, is as we get older, all of us age, but we kind of still, I'm not sure how it works, but seem relevant to a younger audience, you know, so yeah, I think it will be nice if we sit on this for a bit, and then it's about 60-something-year-old men aging and what their friendships look like, you know.
We definitely, I mean, it's not really like if, ever for us, it's always just when, and Edgar and I are always talking about what we want to do next, and again, talking about let's really piss people off. Let's just do something. We're not going to make another Cornetto. Sure, in that the Cornetto movies were about the individual versus the collective in various different incarnations, you know. I think whatever we do next will be very different to that. We've had, you know, Edgar's come over to mine and stayed, and we've chatted through, we've come up with got some ideas. But we're all a bit busier than we used to be, you know. It's like, it's hard to find the time. I need 6 weeks with Edgar to hash out a sort of an outline, maybe a first draft. And so, you know, he's just finishing The Running Man. I've been finishing the Nick's busy as all hell, doing lots of stuff. We just need to find the time to get together, and we will do it, I promise you.
Let's touch on it for a second. In your mind, have you kind of picked a genre, whether it be a Western, a noir, reality TV, or found footage? Is there a genre that you kind of want to key into?
No, especially, I think we just want to make a film, you know, whatever shape that takes, I'm not sure. It's not like with Shaun, we wanted to make a zombie movie. With Hot Fuzz, we wanted to make an action movie. It was less, the genre wasn't necessarily what we started with World's End, it was the situation. It'll probably be a little bit more like The World's End. We'll find a situation and
I think it helps people to be able to say a film is about this, you know, rather than we set out to make a film about that, you know. It's easier for people to say, oh, that's a horror, that's...
Nick, I want to switch gears for a second, because I want to ask you, because it's been reported that you're stepping into some very big boots as Hagrid in the Harry Potter series. Can you tease how you're approaching the role?
You're an actor, Nick. It's not shape or form confirmed, and I'm kind of thrilled that I would even be considered, if I'm honest. And I don't know, let's see what happens. I think today I would like to focus on being here at Awesome Con with my friend Simon and Joe and our lovely interpreter.
By the way, let's give it up for our ASL interpreters again.
What Nick is saying is he's not at this moment allowed to confirm or deny.
Let's move on.
Something that we can talk about, hopefully a little bit, is Albert from the live action Avatar Dragon.
Yeah, yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
I can confirm that I'm in How to Train Your Dragon.
Are you cornering the market on bearded characters? Is that
Yeah, and they just put it on. I haven't even got a beard.
Talk to me about the shooting that your experience.
Okay, so we shot like last year in Belfast, which was amazing. And it, if you are lucky enough, like Simon and I, to have a career which kind of spans 20 odd years, you go from doing little films for a tiny budget, and you've got to shoot it really quick in like 20 days, and you do like 20 pages of the script a day, and there's a real joy to that, I think in Britain we call it kick, bollock, scramble, where it's just shoot, let's just get it. And then the opposite to that is you do a film like Dragon, where sometimes you shoot like a sentence in a day. Do you know what I mean? You've got so much time, and there's a real joy to both of those things. And so, yeah, I spent a lot of last year doing Dragon. It was very much one of the the latter, and it was just beautiful, and it was amazing. And when you walk onto a set, and it's Burke, and there are 500 Vikings as extras, and there are people with like huge dragon costumes, right? It's just amazing, As a fan like you guys, it's not lost on me that I get to kind of do that, And it's also really fucking terrifying to have to act in front of 500 people. It's really frightening. And I found it kind of keeps you on your toes and stuff. But what I want to say is, I got to work with Mason Thames, who I'd seen doing the Black Phone and stuff, and he's only 16, and he was amazing. I loved being on set with him, and anything I did in terms of an improvisation, or I'd say, let's try this, and be like, yeah, let's do it. And he just soaked it up and went with it, and it was just impressive. It was great.
I cannot wait for that film. June.
I saw it last week, and
CinemaCon? Is it?
No, I went. Late screening for me. Kind of a big deal. It was amazing. I went with my wife, and we just came out of the screening room like, wow, that was great.
June 13th, everybody. June 13th. Another film I was really excited about this year was Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Let me tell you something. I love me some Benji. The last Mission Impossible, when each one of those like train compartments were falling, was probably the most intense scene I've seen in such a long time. What could we expect from Benji and the crew in the Final Reckoning?
Well, it's difficult to say anything really without, I don't want to spoil anything, for me it was my favorite of the 6 missions that I filmed, it was my favorite to shoot. We were in the Arctic, we were in South Africa, the stunts Tom is doing, I just beg a belief, really, really dumb shit. A lot of people say to me, oh, he's mad, isn't it? He's not. He's incredibly focused and he's incredibly careful when it comes to those stunts. Like, he rehearses and trains, everything is, but he does it because he actually cares so much about the cinematic experience for the audience. He will literally risk his life, which he does again and again. And it's kind of awe-inspiring to watch. And I've said goodbye to him several times over the years. Just not knowing if I was ever going to see him again. I remember I went back to London and we were in New Zealand and he was staying to do all the helicopter stuff in Fallout. And I remember going, culmination of all 8 films in such a beautiful way. Christopher McQuarrie has created this beautiful arc for Ethan, and you know, they're a bit, if you've seen every Mission Impossible film, and if you haven't, I strongly recommend you do, because there will be things in Final Reckoning that you will notice, you know, connective tissue that just joins them together really beautifully. So yeah, it's going to be a heck of a ride.
Look, there was stuff in the last Mission Impossible, the callbacks to the first one. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I love that franchise.
Well, one of the really exciting things is that Rolf Saxon, who, if you've seen Mission Impossible 1, is the guy in the black vault that Ethan gives diarrhea to, who is rushing back and forth while Ethan's coming down on the road. He's in it.
What?
Yeah.
You know, both of you guys are also in the Star Wars universe. SM-33 and Skeleton Crew. Boy, oh boy, I love Skeleton Crew. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was great.
I love the fact that also it didn't rely on the Star Wars iconography. It was such a tribute to like pirates. SM-33, Smee from Pirates. So brilliant. Can you talk to me about working on that ship?
Yeah, it was, you know, okay, so first of all, sometimes when you do that kind of role, you just go into a booth and you say the dialogue and that's that, and then they call you back a year later and you do a bit more, or you change what you did, or they like what you did. But it wasn't that at all. It was really collaborative, you know, and anything I said I'd like to try, or what about this voice? You know, a few people would laugh and they said, well, yeah, come on, let's give it a go. And we kind of built it up and up and up using that kind of method. And it was really nice to be like a, you know, not just a droid, but just to be a very small bit in that world, but to be heard is always nice. It's always a treat, you know. And that made it really nice to do. And when it came out, they invited me to go to the premiere, which we did in front of the Millennium Falcon. It was amazing. And like my wife has never seen any of them. And so like every 10 minutes, like the engines cycle up, and I'd be saying to her, it's the engines. We split up. We've got divorces.
You know what's really lovely is that way back in 1994, I think, when Nick and I met for the first time, and we've been hanging out together a little bit, and we were in an Indian restaurant in Kilburn in North London, and either Nick or me, was it you or me that did it? I did it. I moved the salt across the table towards Nick and went, and Nick went, I know what that is!
That was it.
And we had this kind of moment,
That was the moment we fell in love. Just like the world around us stopped for a second. And all I could see was him.
and all I could see was him.
That's all I could see.
That's going to be somebody's fan. That's going to be the Nick Frost Simon Pegg fanfic.
Oh yeah, I shit us. And now, like, I'm a fucking junk dealer on Jakku, and he's a droid. It's like, wow, what a journey.
I wanted to ask you about this because Unkar Plutt you were there physically.
I was, yeah.
Well, talk to me about your experience working on Force Awakens.
It was amazing, because that time, before it came out, it felt like Star Wars, you know, the set, there were so many practical makeup jobs and droids and stormtroopers, and I remember when I first walked into a tent and I met Chewbacca, and it was Jonas, Peter Mayhew was still alive at the time, and he'd do all his stuff sitting down, but Jonas played Chewbacca standing up, and he was in the tent. And I walked, Chewbacca was always my favourite character, and I walked into this tent, and there was Chewbacca. And when the actor's in a suit, it isn't an actor in a suit, it's a living, breathing Wookiee. And I kind of walked in there, and my whole childhood just flooded back to me, and Jonas went, oh hey man, how you doing? And I went, shut the fuck up! Just do the role.
Oh man, that's great. But you also voiced Dengar in Clone Wars, right?
I did, yeah, Dengar from the Empire Strikes Back.
How's that? Yeah, that's right.
That was cool, yeah. I was thrilled. I voiced him in the game as well, the Battlefronts game. It was cool. It was. I mean, I did him as a sort of cockney, Ray Winston kind of. But I always been fascinated by him because he had like a big bandage on his head when I was a kid. I was like, who's that guy? So yeah, that was really fun. And I think that was the only. I think that's the only episode of Clones I've ever watched. I'm a bit of a purist.
I think that's all right. Yeah, when you're an actor, sometimes I only watch my bits and I fast forward through the others.
If there was a Cornetto-verse Star Wars, I think as the Star Wars parody is C-3PO in R2-D2, but if there was a Cornetto-verse Star Wars film, what would that look like?
We could just sort of like
Fucking really weird. First of all, maybe just like one of the big ships would be shaped like a cornetto. Which I guess it kind of is, but yeah, right.
maybe like a really straight-laced Imperial officer, you know, was made to go and work on Tatooine. And he meets this young, impressionable cadet, and together they learn the value of, you know, and he becomes a rebel. It's basically Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, it's Hot Fuzz. I'd like to think maybe they put Danny Butterman into like an R2 unit. I think it'd be a good belligerent R2 unit.
Sold. Kathleen Kennedy's buying it now. We're going to start over here with fan questions. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
My name is actually Shaun.
Dressed appropriately.
Yep.
How is it spelled?
With a W instead of a U.
W.
Yeah, I know.
Where did the W go?
Oh, instead of the U.
Oh, okay. What? I made this episode. Thanks, Warren.
I got both a comment and a quick question. Comment is, I probably rival Danny Butterman's movie collection. I'm about 4,000 right now, so.
Congratulations.
And my question would be, it's actually go before Shaun of the Dead, what was probably your favorite episode of Spaced?
For me, it's probably episode 5, season 2, when we go to Camden and the one that culminates in all the slow motion gunfighting. Just because that was a really fun episode to write. Jess and I had written an episode which we gave to Edgar and he didn't like it. He said, you need to go back and write another one better. And we wrote that one. And it was a lot of fun to shoot. But any episode where I got to mess around with Nick as well.
My favourite probably is the clubbing episode, because that was our life at that point. And so I think both of us agree we never, it was quite few and far between the amount of TV we saw with actual good raving scenes in. They all seem kind of shit. What did you say? Raving. Oh, raving. Sorry. And then like instead of raving music, it's always like 9 Inch Nails or something. It's like, no, that's not what a club is like. So it was nice to portray what we thought, what we lived at that point.
And also, any program which showed like club culture had to have some punitive message about the dangers of taking ecstasy or whatever. We kind of just wanted to show that you could go out, get mashed, and come back and survive, you know, and have a good night. And don't do drugs again.
Hello, how are you?
All right.
All right.
Hello.
My question is, who is your favorite character to play in the Cornetto trilogy?
Do you want to know?
Gary King.
I like Danny Butterman. I think the chance for me as Andy to do a kind of better actings was a nice thing for me. But Danny was fun, you know. He was like just a big Labrador. And if you put your glass of wine on the table, he'd knock it off and stuff. I really loved that.
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Hi. So I ran the London Marathon, and I'm
Why?
I'm a big run fat boy run.
I can see your t-shirt.
So what kind of research did you get into? Because like a lot of us runners really love that movie.
I didn't run a marathon, but I do like running, and I have run a lot over the years, and I'd actually just finished Hot Fuzz when I started shooting that, so I had to wear a fat suit for Dennis's belly. So I was actually quite fit at the time, So I kind of relished all the running around. But I haven't yet run a marathon, nor do I ever expect to. But well done to you. That's very impressive. Let's have a round of applause for the marathon.
Thank you so much. How are you?
Hi. My friend here wants to know if there's any plans to do a pole return.
We always that's so great. That's what a great question. We always discuss the idea of the sequel to Paul would always be called Paul's. We had a kind of a.
We're going to go to his planet, right?
Yeah, I think or a bunch of them were going to come to ours and try and. I can't remember. We shouldn't say.
Crash.
Yes, we do it.
Yes.
Crash the wedding. How about?
Yeah.
I think there was a weird thing too where at some point like 10 years ago Universal contacted us to say, do you want to make it into a TV show? And so obviously it happened. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I love Paul, right?
The fact is, I mean, the way the film industry is these days is comedies like that don't exist anymore. You don't get comedies that are made for that much money. Not Paul wasn't that much money. The most money we spent was on Paul himself, which cost about $20 million just to create that character. But like the mid-budget comedy doesn't exist anymore, and it's got something to do with theatre audiences dwindling and streaming. God, I've got really depressed.
Sorry guys. Sorry everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey, you guys have been in a bunch of different franchises, and wow, my voice is echoing badly. Anyway, and you're big geeks too. So I was wondering if you guys could pick another franchise to be part of, and the character that you want to play in it, what would you choose? Who would you choose to be?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the idea of joining another franchise at this point in my career, it's worrying. I don't have any plans to. I don't want to join something whereby I'm contracted to be in lots of them, and then maybe be in someone else's film as a bit part, like you do in these expanded universes. Where, I mean, it's so much waiting around. And I love Mission Impossible. I've had the best time, the best 20 years, But the idea of now doing something which is kind of a bit more, I don't know, smaller and it's hard. But if I was to sort of like to answer your question in a world where I was going to join a franchise, it would probably be
James Bond?
James. No, I'm in a spy movie already. I would like to do a live action Ice Age and have it be Buck. My
brain shut down a little bit. So I'm just going to say Cobra from How to Train the Dragon. Because now we've got a second film commissioned. I now know that I am in a franchise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a quick question for you guys. You guys were both also in Doctor Who, obviously not in the same episode. Who was your favorite Doctor?
Tom Baker.
I have two, I guess. Yes, Tom Baker when I was a child, but of the newer ones, I love Capaldi. And I really love Matt Smith too. I think he's an amazing actor. He's a great one.
Great answer. Rufio! What you got for us? Rufio! Rufio! Rufio!
Anyway, you've both been in a bevy of roles. You've acquired skills. What skills are you most proud of?
Didn't you hear my story about jamming a gun? It was a Beretta. That.
I can drive a twin-engine speedboat, which was fun, which I got to do on the River Seine, which was really cool, and a water taxi in Venice. So if things dry up for me, I'll see you in Venice. I'll tell you somewhere.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So I love both of you and Hot Fuzz. It's one of my favorite movies, and me and my friends quote it all the time. But Simon, I'm so excited for the next Mission Impossible movie. What's been your favorite stunt or action scene to be a part of? And yeah.
I think for me, it was probably the car chase in Rogue Nation where I Tom, Ethan and Benji bombing around Casablanca in that BMW, and we go down the steps, and then he sort of somersaults it backwards. That was so much fun, because it was literally just me and Tom in the car, and I remember saying to the stunt coordinator, Wade, who's driving? And he went, oh, Tom. He's the best driver I have. And we'd be bombing around, and Tom would be kept shouting at me to scream more. I was so scared that I was just like, just do more stuff. And I'm trying. And then we had this whole thing where Tom used to put on my seat heater, and I wouldn't know, and I'd say, it's really hot. And then this became this little war between us, so that was really fun. But I've been there at most of the big stunts just to watch, and they're always quite, awe-inspiring. The motorcycle jump off the cliff in Dead Reckoning was terrifying to watch, because he'd just disappear, and there'd be complete silence, and then you'd hear, good crappy, and everyone would go, so yeah, but in terms of my participation, definitely the beaver chase, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello!
I just wanted to say that Shaun of the Dead is my all-time favorite zombie film. Yeah, because I think that's how a zombie apocalypse would work. We'd all panic for about a week, and then it's like, zombies, whatever.
I think you're wrong.
Thank you.
I think you might go past the compliment, that's cool.
Hello!
Hi. What was the inspiration in 2007 to have Frank Butterman say, we're going to make Sanford great again? And do you have any other predictions?
Let's leave all that shit outside this building. It's funny because we also predicted Brexit in The World's End. The World's End is a Brexit movie. It's a nation cutting itself off from civilization. The chaos we were plunged into post-Brexit was very similar to what you see at the end of The World's End. I don't know. I think you've got to hand it to The Simpsons. They predict the most.
Thank you. Hello?
Hi. Thanks for being here, I have both a comment and a quote. First of all, Simon, thank you for your role as Montgomery Scott in the television series. And thank you for adding my favorite film of that series, Star Trek Beyond.
Thank you.
And my question to you is, if you could have that character, Montgomery Scott, doing either a film or a series, what would the plot be like?
Oh, I don't know, that would be fun. I'd like us to do another movie, I would be happy to come back with those guys and do another movie. Whatever the story is, I love my Enterprise crewmates, they're the sweetest people. I was so proud of Zoe winning that Oscar recently, and it's going to be a hard one for us because we lost Anton, who was a very beloved member of our group, but whatever that story is, I'll be there for it, and I have no news to give you in that regard, just that it's not impossible. So fingers crossed.
Quick question for you. If you could cast Nick in Star Trek, what would he be? An engineer, diplomat, cat, or captain?
It's Harry Mudd. Harry Mudd.
That's a great answer.
Oh, believe me, I pitched it a couple of times.
That would be phenomenal. Hello.
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm an aspiring director, and I wanted to know if there was a point in your guys' career journey where you took a risk that paid off, or maybe it didn't pay off.
Shoot.
Oh, no, I'm stumped.
I think taking a risk probably would have been Shaun. Shaun was our first big movie. Well, it was our first movie as me and Edgar had written, and the three of us did together. And it was, I think, a $6 million budget, which when I was a kid was the cost of a bionic man. So it felt like a lot of money. And it was a risk that paid off, That's why we're sitting here now. So in terms of ones we took that didn't pay off.
I don't know. I did a tiny film couple of years ago with a lovely Dutch director called Stefan, who also directed a film I did called Getaway, but I did his film, and it was called Crazy House, and it was, you're the one! It was like, it was nuts. It was like, even reading the script, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But I was kind of committed to do it. I said I'd do it, and I did it, and when we premiered it at Sundance, I think it was the only film that ended with no audience. Like everyone walked out. It was really weird. And that was like, you think, oh, but the upside to this is, I was fucking great in it. My son, I have lots of children, but my oldest one teases me about it. And I have to say, but I'm really proud of it. It's great. So I think artistically you have to do that thing sometimes. You're like, well, let's give it a crack. You know, they're not all going to be Shaun of the Dead, but if you can walk off that set and feel proud of what you've done, then maybe that is enough, you know. Even a lot of people walked out. I think a lot of people walked out of Exorcist when it first came.
I agree, and I think if you're where you want to be at any one time, then every risk you've taken, whether it's paid off or not, has been the right risk. You know.
I think sometimes a lot of these things that we do, the point of it is the relationships we forged on set between the crew and the cast, and the laugh you have doing it, and the pressure and the struggle, and you made a film. It's like magic. It's someone's thoughts, and then you've turned them into something real and tangible. You know, that sometimes is enough. Whether or not people watch it, it's not my business. You know, it's not my problem really. It shouldn't be.
Having said that, go and see Mission Impossible and have Jeremy Renner.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Good. I guess you could call me Gin and Tonic.
All right.
So I know the Cornetto Trilogy has like a lot of good music, a lot. Is there any songs that you wanted in the movie, but you couldn't get the rights to and you were bummed out about it?
I know there was a song that I wanted to use in Paul, which is a song by Belle Sebastian called To Be Myself Completely. I wanted it to be the opening music, but in the end it wasn't that. And I've always thought it would have been better if it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Edgar's such a, he kind of has such an amazing playlist. Usually we all get like a CD, it's not a CD, what do you call now? You put the music on, like a thing, thumb drive. Yeah, he's got like a thumb drive that everyone gets, and you get to listen to his music beforehand, which is nice. It's nice and annoying. Sometimes I just leave it in the car, and I don't listen to it. That's a spite.
Every Christmas, Edgar sends like a compilation of his 50 favourite songs of the year, and he puts it on Instagram, and he sends it to me, and then we're like, I don't fucking care.
I've got 3 kids, you think I can listen to 50 songs? Thanks, Jenny Tonic.
Hello!
Hi.
Hello, guys.
So, me and my brother would like to know, we love the film Shaun of the Dead, and...
Who are your parents? You should be ashamed. Making a child wear a shirt that says, I got wood. It's just weird. What are you doing? Go on, carry on.
We want to know what your favorite horror movie is.
Good question. Do you want to go? I have a few. I was oddly brought up a Catholic, like a devout Catholic family. So when I was very young, I got the chance to see Omen, the first Omen, and there was a part of me that felt like it was a documentary. It never left me, really. It never left me.
Well, can I give you 3? And seeing as your mum and dad allowed you to watch Shaun of the Dead, which is clearly...
Do they drink a lot?
Did they know you watched? Were they awake when you watched it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. We need to talk to social services. I would say The Thing, 1982. clearly going to be allowed to, so.
Great choices. Hello.
Thank you both.
Hi, I'm Rivka. With all the fun movies that you guys have done together, I was wondering if there were any crazy hijinks or pranks going on behind the scenes.
I mean, we work pretty hard on one set. I mean, we always have fun. But
we always have this boring answer. Well, we share our work, I think. We do work pretty hard, but usually we're like, we shared, when we shot Hot Fuzz, we had our own little house that we shared. We did quite a lot of night shoots, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because it was in England, during the summer when we shot, the nights are really small, which is great if you're a lazy actor, because it means you don't start till 10 p.m. and you wrap at 3:30. And we had, like, oddly, we had a pool in our cottage, and then we'd get back from work at about 4 or 5 a.m. and we'd get in our pool and we'd have breakfast wine. So we'd just lay in the pool and drink wine. It was freezing cold. I mean, in hindsight, it was a cry for help. But it felt really cool at the time.
Amazing. Well, this is going to be our last question. For everybody else that's in line, though, I highly recommend you meet them at their booth, get a picture, get an autograph.
That's the picture of me and Chewbacca. Hey.
Oh, it is, huh?
Yeah. There you got it. Anyone who hasn't got to ask a question, come and see us at our booth and ask us in person, and we'll answer.
Answers are $40. But the question is free.
Well, two-part question is only $60, which is quite
we call it a combo, it's $80.
Thank goodness I would have gone broke. I wanted to say, first of all, thank y'all very much for coming out to this. We really appreciate it. Flying all the way out. It's been an absolute pleasure. And secondly, say there is a zombie apocalypse in our lovely day today. I wanted to ask, between the two of you, what is your game plan, and most importantly, who would win?
Well, if there were the proper zombies, not these new running ones. Our plan has always been the same. I mean, I'm sure that grew out of, these zombie apocalypse plans that we all had. Mine would always start with a zombie in the garden, which is why that ended up in Shaun of the Dead. We used to live in Archway, North London, and there was a gun shop. I think it was only like a sporting gun shop. We don't have gun shops in the UK. You are allowed to own shotguns if you're a farmer or a psychopath. But you're not allowed to own any kind of, home defense weapon. But there was this sporting gun shop, so we would go along the roof to that, tunnel in, get a couple of guns.
Well, then we'd use those guns, and there's a place in Enfield, which is North London, where the British Army store a lot of their heavier caliber weapons. And then we'd use those guns then to get into the Enfield depot to upgrade. And then, the world's our oyster.
And then we go to Wembley Stadium, and then we barricade ourselves into Wembley Stadium, and we cultivate the pitch, and live there.
Well, I always think you split the pitch into quarters. So one quarter you would graze animals, one quarter you'd have an orchard, the third quarter you'd have wheat, barley, grain, maize, etc. And the fourth quarter you'd leave fat fallow for a season. Just rotate it around.
Yeah, it's crop rotation. They've been doing it since the 17th century.
And we have our own executive suites, so he'd be in one end of the stadium and I'd be in the other.
We haven't thought about this at all.
I think weirdly, and this might blow a few minds here, what I think I'd do is I'd kill myself. I just think, you know what, fuck it, I know how this ends, so I'm gonna fucking trigger it. But no one talks about it.
With